The following presentation will be delivered by 4 people: Hannah Hale and Elspeth McCartney from Stirling University, myself, Muriel Mackenzie, and Joanna Rogerson from Stirling Council. The topic of the presentation, PEEP in the Pandemic, Supporting Parent Learning Online, is part of a wider collaborative research project between Stirling University and Stirling Council staff. The larger project, evaluating parent and practitioner views of participation in the PEEP Learning Together programme and developing an enhanced delivery model, is an ongoing project. But for the purposes of today's presentation, let me give you a bit of background. The PEEP Learning Together programme is a group work programme which involves parents and carers and their children under the age of 5 years being supported by a practitioner to use everyday learning experiences to enhance the home learning environment, with the aim being to maximise children's early learning and consequently their development. The practitioners involved have been trained to deliver the programme by the charity People, and there is some evidence from peer report that PEEP is successful in enhancing the home learning environment and also, for example, child early literacy skills. However, recent COVID-19 restrictions have necessitated moving from face-to-face delivery to online approaches. People is working with practitioners to support and develop online delivery. Through discussions with the People organisation and colleagues across Scotland, we initially gathered some informal evaluations suggesting that online platforms accommodating larger participant groups such as Zoom could be effective. For example, online delivery allowed some parents to join groups more confidently than perhaps personal attendance at a face-to-face group would have. Travel problems getting to a group are avoided. However, there is also the potential for a loss of social interaction amongst parents and a loss of play opportunities for children within the groups. Following up group audio-visual sessions with phone calls to embed learning has been needed at times. Appropriate technology and security are problems for some families also. Practitioners' confidence or otherwise in using technology to communicate is varied. This presentation explores these issues further. Now I'm going to hand over to Joanna to talk about the aims of the project.
Thanks, Muriel. Okay, so the overarching aim of this research is to gain the views of PEEP practitioners on the Learning Together programme. We were predominantly looking at what service delivery and content factors have encouraged and enhanced engagement with the PEEP programme, and equally what service delivery and content factors are less attractive, creating barriers to engagement. We also sought practitioners' views on their suggestions for improvements to service delivery and overall programme content. Some methodological adaptations were required to comply with the COVID-19 restrictions. Due to the current social distancing measures in place throughout Scotland, online questionnaires and remote interview methods such as telephone interviews and video call interviews were used to avoid any face-to-face contact between participants and the research team. The initial timescale set out for the research also had to be revised due to delays as a result of COVID-19. So around 15 Stirling Council PEEP practitioners were asked to complete our online questionnaire regarding their experiences with PEEP. The questionnaire included a question surrounding online delivery, which was, PEEP groups are to be offered online as a response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Please list the opportunities and challenges you anticipate in undertaking online delivery and what would help you to remain confident in offering online delivery. So far, 20 Stirling Council PEEP practitioners have completed the online questionnaire, with 3 practitioners also participating in an interview. Once parents have completed a PEEP Learning Together programme, the research team will seek their views. For analysis of both the practitioner interviews and responses to the open-ended survey questions, they were conducted using thematic analysis and the qualitative data analysis application in vivo. As of just now, one interview transcript and the response to the open-ended survey questions have been undertaken as follows. Interviews were digitally transcribed from the recordings and checked by the researchers, taking care to remove all identifying information before analysis proceeded. The transcripts and responses to the survey's open-ended questions were uploaded to in vivo. Interviews were coded independently by 2 researchers, focusing on participants' words and expressions as they are in the text of the interview, and identifying units of meaning in the participant's account. The researchers then compared their initial coding of each interview transcripts, exploring variations in coding. Once the researchers had discussed and resolved discrepancies, they agreed on a set of code for each interview. The interviews were then divided between the two researchers for further coding. Once the coding was completed, coding was compared within and between the transcripts, looking for patterns and structures in the interviews, then classifying and ordering them to produce themes. Themes were about to consider and represent both similarities and consensus across interview transcripts. It should be noted that not all interviews have been analysed yet, and it is expected that more themes will emerge as data is gathered and analysis is conducted. I'm now going to pass on to Hannah, who's going to discuss our findings so far.
Thanks, Joanna. So the findings so far. A number of advantages for parents attending PEEP groups online included the benefits for parents who are working from home, and it being preferable for parents who otherwise feel anxious about being in a group. So one practitioner in an interview said, one of the advantages is that some folk who have struggled with groups and struggled with social situations have found it a little bit easier, and hopefully we can build on that because they felt confident within that group. So that's good. So that means that we've reached some people who might have dropped out because of their issue. It also means reaching a wider range of families in terms of their demographic backgrounds, avoids travel, avoids the cost and the logistics around travel, avoids a range of logistical challenges such as coordinating the group with other family commitments. It's meant reaching parents during pandemic circumstances and potentially supporting them as their results changed. And there are also advantages for parents with disability. Practitioner 1, again, from that same interview, said, the other thing is for some people who have disabilities or who have pain management and things like that struggle to go very far or things like that will, they'll be able to do it in their own house. Transport, it means that they could have a group where they're from 5 different nurseries. Disadvantages for parents include technical limitations. One practitioner said, some parents may not have equipment to help them access PEEP online. Another said, challenges could be having parents engage with the online programme or having appropriate devices and Wi-Fi available. Also, parents' confidence with technology, whether or not they can afford the technology, and concerns around security. Challenges for practitioners again include privacy, security, and the challenge of finding a portal that can suit everyone. One practitioner said finding a suitable space with an internet signal can be challenging, especially when you need to consider other staff members who also need to have online meetings, etc. Privacy needs to be secure, so this needs to be a portal that is secure, but may not be what the parents use or feel comfortable with. And concurrent and pandemic-related practical challenges. For example, one practitioner said that they may not be able to take time off the floor due to staff shortages, which were that much more pertinent in the current circumstances. Attaining and maintaining engagement, so setting up the environment to keep everyone engaged could also be challenging. And managing to monitor the group online. Other challenges included the practitioner's sense of confidence with technology. One practitioner said finding a system that works for parents and getting positive feedback from parents that they were able to access the sessions easily and that these sessions were useful alongside feeling comfortable myself with using the technology will help me to become confident with online delivery. Distractions at home can make it difficult to focus, but also the implications of technology not working, so the knock-on effects of that. One practitioner says that practitioners' technology not working, parents then wouldn't feel confident with practitioners, parents' technology not working, not likely to attend again. And the disinhibition effect touches on the concern that in an online context, people can behave differently, and this can potentially have negative implications in terms of security, or that people can behave behave in a way that isn't necessarily appropriate. And this is exemplified by the practitioner from this interview. As she said, having rules are really, really important, opening people up to, without scaring online, that you don't know who's on the other side of the screen. You don't know if there's somebody hiding behind a couch sort of thing. But because of that, we do have a little form that we had written up with expectations. So like, for example, on one of my groups, the woman was so comfortable that she lit up and started smoking during the session. So we had to add that in. It's just like a normal group. No energy drinks, no sort of, because we want a calm sort of space, no cigarettes, no. So there's things like that. I don't suppose that's going to come up in PEEP because they're sitting with their child. But because you have that already, we can share that with the parents beforehand. So there's all sorts of things that come up with online. So now pass on to Elspeth.
Practitioners had suggestions as to what might help adapt PEEP to online delivery. The first one being shown examples of good remote practice would be helpful, and it's likely these will be recorded and shared amongst the charity groups. A practitioner commented, "We have put in a bid for devices for families, which may help with these issues, but we are awaiting confirmation as to whether the bid has been successful." The issue of how children interacted in online groups came up with the idea that let the children wander. Parents who took part, who did have the children with them, I suppose what we'll need to do is let the parents know that it's okay if the children wander off. They don't need to sit constantly because they're just wee folk and that's okay. They can come back and they can wander about, just like they would in a PEEP group. We're not strict that the kids have to be just sit and listen, and we really encourage the parents to let them explore everything, and it's fine, and all of that. Practitioners also suggested that building trust with additional support phone calls and icebreakers would be important. For building that trust, so they trust us to go along with it as well. So what we're building into the trust with us is support phone calls. Support phone calls to set up the digital support phone calls to talk it through and sort of, we're hoping we can do that. And I suppose the first session, building in some little icebreakers, some little fun things to introduce each other. Limitations of online delivery were, of course, high in everyone's mind. Topics determined more by practitioners because pre-COVID, topic selection for PEEP groups was driven by parents. On piloting online groups, practitioners maintained that this would be less possible to achieve. And one practitioner said, the parents will be aware that they're taking part in a pilot to try how it works out online. They'll be very much aware that actually what we're trying to see is how it all feels online. So any feedback from them will really help us. So we'll possibly just pick the topics for that. And we'll choose the ones that are maybe easiest to do online, because that's a bit trickier, because the children and their parents are obviously going to be sitting in front of a screen. So it's not the same as making books with them or making musical instruments. It's not. Practical activities were considered far less feasible to engage in and share online. Summarising our findings, as the research project had to adapt quickly and dramatically in response to the pandemic, so too had the PEEP practitioners. Delivering PEEP groups online opens the provision up to a wider range of families and needs. It presents another source of learning for the programme and opens up other potentials for programme development. It presents logistical and technical challenges, however, to both parents and practitioners. Moving forward, the research project
Well, it sounds like we've lost Elspeth there. I'll just continue her summarising points there. So moving forward, the research project will build on insights by collecting data with families, identifying key strategies to enhance the impact of the PEEP programme, evaluating pilot trials of these strategies and reporting on these in phase 2 of the project.
And coming back to acknowledge and thanks for people who are supporting our work, the data presented was gathered as part of the project evaluating parent and practitioner views of participation in the PEEP Learning Together programme and developing an enhanced delivery model, run by University of Stirling Faculty of Social Sciences and Stirling Council Children's Services. This was funded by the Scottish Government Parental Engagement, Equalities and Equity Project Fund 2019-21, whose support is gratefully acknowledged. Additional thanks is also extended to both the People Charity for supporting the research and to all Stirling Council PEEP practitioners who have taken part in the research. Thank you for listening.